This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Welcome to Sports Source Hardball. I'm Will Heflin. I'm joined, as always, by VFL's AJ Simcox and Andrew Lee. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We do appreciate your support and all the support for shows just like this one. Fellas, 2 straight series losses at home. First time that's ever happened under Tony Vitello. This is now pretty deep into his tenure. Did sprinkle in the win in Oxford in between, but your last 2 at home, you've lost. You told us before you're not hitting the panic button, but What have you seen the last couple series?
Yeah, I mean, still not hitting the panic button. It's life in the SEC, right? You're playing really good teams week in, week out, the most talented teams in the country. It's very similar to football. It's very similar to basketball. Every team's got a lot of talent, regardless what the record shows. Kentucky's a solid team. Ole Miss is a very good team. But some of the things that we've kind of talked about throughout the course of the podcast have started to come to fruition a little bit. Sunday, what was once ironed out, you had the 2 freshmen going back-to-back and on top of their game. They've started to kind of scuffle a little bit. You wonder if there's some confidence issues there now too. What was once a lockdown W on a Saturday has kind of started to crumble a little bit as well. The scouting report on Marcus Phillips is out. If you get guys on, you can steal all day. And so a single or a walk turns into a double automatically. And then there's some other things offensively and defensively as well.
Yeah, I mean, things that we thought we had 100% shored up. We had thoroughbreds running Friday, Saturday, and a little bit Sunday. They've started to slow down, with the exception of Liam Doyle, who just keeps on chugging. The offense that looked like it had very few, if any, gaps in it has slowed down a ton, especially against Kentucky this weekend. Whether it was struggling to get anything going or struggling to bring guys in when we had them on base. There's a couple of holes that need to be filled. Especially, I think, on the back end. And I don't want to say it's one person in particular, but I feel like some of those games that we were closing out with regularity have started to become less of a sure thing on the back end. And maybe it was to where we were down 1 or 2 runs and we were hoping to get a late inning rally, and now all of a sudden we're down 5 or 6 runs going into the 8th and the 9th. So that's another thing that's started to get a little bit scary is who's going to be our 2 or 3 go-to guys on the back end, something that we thought was, signed, sealed, delivered, get us to the 7th or 8th inning and we're good to go. Now it's starting to get maybe a little bit more questionable.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the issues are stuff I feel like is probably fixable.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And pretty common. I think this team's a lot younger than maybe they feel like. You think about Inslee being a veteran. Fisher and Doyle are both third-year guys. Chapman, third-year guys. Curley, second-year full-time starter. But the transfers are new to the program, and then you're relying on more freshmen than probably most teams in the league. So maybe they're just a little bit more young than they probably look on paper. At least that's how it feels. But a lot of the issues you guys pointed at, like the run game is something that you can get better at controlling. Some of the fielding issues I think can be attributed to no Keelan the last few weeks. When he gets back, we might see them kind of settle in and have some stability, at least with positioning. And then the offensive struggles, at least this weekend, kind of felt more like a one-off, just constantly behind in counts and maybe not sure of ourselves on some of the swings. But I'm kind of with AJ. I don't want to hit the panic button. I always see Tennessee play Kentucky very out of character or weird for whatever reason. You guys think back to 22.
Well, yeah.
You dominated everybody. Who was the only series you lost? Kentucky.
Yeah, and I think Kentucky too, they're one of those teams where they don't have the consistent top-end talent that some of these other schools like a Texas or an LSU might have, but they are a very good team and they know who they are. They have whether I enjoy watching them play or not, they have a particular style of baseball. And that style, when run efficiently, really exposes your inefficiencies as an opponent, right? And I think they kind of got Tennessee at the perfect time, and I think in the long run, it might be a blessing for Tennessee because that was the perfect opponent to really show them areas that they have to fix and iron out, as opposed to, just being able to go out and play a team that's similar and where you can rely a little bit more on talent. You kind of have to, after that series, look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, we're not very good here. We're not very good here. Maybe not very good, but struggling in these areas. And I think Kentucky did a good job of shining a light on some of these areas that they really got to kind of iron out moving forward.
It's just interesting. I mean, you got the dominant win on Friday. Liam Doyle had another really quality outing, and the offense was able to get insurance kind of in those middle, late innings and pull away. And then Kentucky punches back on Sunday, and we're able to carry over that, or they punched back on Saturday and then carried over that same kind of feeling and vibe in the ballpark throughout the rest of the game on Sunday as well. And it just, the word I kept seeing and feeling from Tennessee was frustration. It was just like it was almost like, I don't want to say they were down, but they just seemed very frustrated and kind of annoyed, and really did let it get to them, which is what Kentucky wants. But I don't know. Do you guys think this is more just kind of like a mid-season rut that they'll get out of, or more serious, like, is this going to pop up again at the worst time and end our season earlier than we hoped?
I think the thing that was the scariest is we've had 12 errors in our last 6 games, which is something that wasn't really an issue coming in to those last three series. And Kentucky was the perfect team, as AJ mentioned, to expose that. If they get guys on first, they're probably stealing second, maybe stealing third, depending on the guy. And I think that will put an emphasis maybe throughout this week in practice, maybe the midweek game as well, of let's shore up our holes, especially we play on a turf field. So some of the errors that we might be seeing are, I don't want to say inexcusable, but should be less frequent on a turf field, especially when we're at home. And maybe that'll be something that's a bit of a wake-up, kind of like the ETSU game was in that midweek series that we had. And hopefully it reinforces the need to shore up both defensively and maybe the run game as well.
Well, and you touched base on it too, with Keelan coming out, or with Keelan getting out to injury. Since then, there's been no stability across the infield.
No,
now some of that's been other guys performing well, like Bargo coming in, taking some reps at third. But if Keelan doesn't get hurt, does he get that opportunity to play third, or is he still DHing? So, and then once he went out, Curley started struggling. I'm not going to say the Y word, but he's been overthinking some of these throws. He's been taking a little bit more time.
He seemed
an extra
comfortable
shuffle.
at second.
He has been, but he was at short, then they moved him to third, and then they moved him to second, and then Marin's been playing second, been playing third, and then he started the last 2 games at short, or Saturday at short, which, I mean, all of those guys are former shortstops, so they're capable, but Tony, and I feel like this coaching staff has always kind of done it. They've never been afraid to kind of just turn the knob a little bit and mix and match and put guys in different positions and try and figure out what works. But I wonder if that's being counterproductive at this point. And you said it earlier, maybe Keelan coming back is the answer to that. Maybe he settles in at short or settles in at second or whatever, and you can kind of get some of that back. But right now it just seems like there needs some kind of stability, and everyone's rotating and everyone's making errors. It seems like everyone's kind of caught that bug.
Well, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So they are certainly not doing that. They'll continue to tweak those dials until they find something that works or season's over. Let's talk day 2. You haven't won a Saturday game since Alabama.
Yep.
You lost 2 on Saturday to A&M. You lost Saturday against Ole Miss. You lost Saturday against Kentucky. What would you guys do there?
I don't want to hit, as AJ said, hit the panic button. I think Marcus is giving us a chance to win. And that is what you ask from a starting pitcher. Just give us a shot, get us through 5 or 6 innings, limit damage where you can. His bugaboo has been walks recently, which lead to stolen bases, runners in scoring position. So I think addressing it on the front end, maybe limiting the walks, getting more aggressive early in the count, trying to seek contact might be his answer. But from a starting pitching perspective, I don't think anything needs to change there. And it may be something where the run support hasn't been there. I know.
It definitely has been
Well,
there.
and the defense has let him down too, right? I think he had, 2 or 3 unearned runs this Saturday.
2.
Mm-hmm. And so if you get one guy on, whether it's a walk or an error, like we've said, that turns into a double, and then that puts more pressure on the defense, puts more pressure on him, and it just seems like nobody's really comfortable right now.
You talked about the ripples after that. Inning gets extended. 15, 20 more pitches.
Pitch count
outing gets shortened.
And they're high leverage pitches as well.
Yeah, outing gets shortened. You're bringing in the bullpen earlier. Now Nate Snead has to see the order twice rather than once. Dylan Loy is seeing guys 2 times through rather than 1 time through. It just compounds itself later in the game, and I think that's what we've seen the last couple weekends.
Well, let me ask you this. As a former player for Frank and Tony, how do they handle the running game, right? So, like, with a runner at second, I think a lot of that falls on the middle infielders. They've got to be in communication with the pitcher, make sure they're changing up their times, their rhythm, all that kind of stuff. I've noticed in the past, too, it seems like Frank and them don't really – I'm not going to say they don't care, but priority number 1 is throw strikes and get after the guy. We saw it what year? I think it might have been your year that y'all went to the College World Series. I think it was Texas that just ran wild on y'all. And it's bit them in the butt a couple times in the past. Obviously, it didn't hurt them last year. They won the national championship. But it was still kind of the scouting report's out on that. How did Frank and Tony handle that, and what do you think they need to do moving forward?
The philosophy's always been war is at the plate, battle on the bases. So they don't want guys sacrificing any power or ability to deliver the best pitch possible in effort to be quicker, right? Outside of that, the timing and the looks, that's all on the pitcher. Right, I know the former staff, there was a system, well, the common baseball, this is kind of ironic, the common baseball system is UCLA, which is the timing, which is funny, but it's 4 letters, it's kind of 4 beats. You can come set quickly and go on you can come set and hold, call it a long hold, and go on A, or you could go, somewhere in the middle, and that kind of makes it harder to get a jump. But it's always on the pitcher. There's no signal to know when to throw, or that's kind of mix it up on your deal, right? And, for Phillips, he's extremely big. He's athletic. He could shorten up a little bit and not lose any of his delivery. But at the end of the day, like Andrew said, you had 4 walks. Now, the bright side to his outing is they went like 0 for 11 with runners in scoring position and 0 for 13 with guys on base. So that was good, working around the traffic, but it's felt very uneasy for him these last couple weeks. I'm with you guys. I wouldn't change that. If anything, I would start. I would look at Sunday for AJ Russell to maybe open up, especially while Krenzel's out. You maybe slide. He missed this weekend with illness, so maybe while he's working his way back, you slide Coons back to kind of that. Bridge guy role, that long relief, which Coons could do. He's built up as a starter, and give A.J. Russell those first few innings on a Sunday to try to give the offense an opportunity to punch first. But, to sum that up, they're never going to sacrifice the focus on the hitter to worry about the base running, and they can live with that. And that may rub people the wrong way, but when you have a top 5,
you can't.
You have a top 5 ERA all of the last 5 years, it's kind of hard to argue. I know it can be frustrating at times, but maybe that's something down the road. You always want to play your game, but the opponent matters.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
If you're playing A&M, Georgia, somebody like that, they're trying to mash with you. They're not going to risk stealing. They're playing for the 3-run homer. But if you're playing Kentucky, you're playing a team that likes to run more. Maybe you're playing a West Coast team. You just have to be a little bit more mindful. And we'll see what they do there. I think they do need to make it a little bit easier on Phillips to control that, because it's not rocket science. It's easier to score from third than it is from first. So ultimately, you want to keep them off the base, but if they do get on, maybe a little bit more attention.
And Peoples is a really good catch-throw guy. He's got a really strong arm. Stone's the same way, and it's not something that is overly difficult to correct. You just have to mix up your times. In theory, you throw harder, it should be harder to steal the base. But a 1-6 is a 1-6 to the plate. And
you've got no shot.
Yeah, you don't have a chance. It doesn't matter. On a pitch out, probably on a 1-6, you don't have a chance if you get a decent jump. And so I think that is a big area of concern on those Saturday games, especially depending on the opponent. Luckily in the SEC, it's like you said, it's more guerrilla ball where you're in scoring position on first or when you step in the batter's box. And so you're not going to run into it now as much, but later in the season. And Vandy's, I know we don't play them for another 3 or 4 weeks, but that's typically a team Corbs has always kind of put his foot on the gas too with that and likes to put some pressure on you. And
there's the easy adjustment for not just Marcus, but anybody with a slower leg. Just mix up your times for your holds. As Will mentioned, your UCLAs. And if you make a guy stand there for more than like 1 or 2 seconds at first base, AJ,
he's not going.
I wasn't a base stealer, not the fleetest of foot.
Yeah.
But the longer you make them sit there, their feet start to sink into that cement. So maybe just changing up the times with the runner at first, holding a little bit longer, maybe going a little bit quicker off and on. So there's some easy adjustments there. And again, we're not hitting the panic button. We're a good baseball team. We've got talent out the wazoo. I think this weekend at LSU might be the perfect time as a wake up. Let's go play some ball against a good team.
Yeah, I think Tony's teams always thrive when the back's against the wall too, right? Like it kind of gets them back to their origin story and kind of lets Tony kind of light a fire under them. I feel like on Sunday too, they started to press a little bit. It kind of just seemed like Inslee hit that home run to get us back 3-2, and then, which I mean he's been doing all year. He's been incredible in SEC play. And then at that point, I feel like in the previous weeks, previous months, it was like, all right, we got it back to 3-2. We got the momentum. We're going to put another 2-3 runs in the next inning, and then we're going to ride this thing into the sunset. Well, that wasn't necessarily the case. 2 innings later, Snead gives up a couple runs. It's 5-2 next thing you know, and then it just got it extended and out of their reach. And I just feel like there started to be a little bit more pressure, and it might be them putting it on themselves just because everything feels like it's kind of started to go wrong a little bit. But this could definitely be the weekend to just have a nice reset.
This episode of Hardball is brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. When you need an attorney, look for the best and be sure they're local. That's Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm, proud supporters of Tennessee baseball. Good segue into LSU. It's interesting. Tony Vitello teams kind of always seem to play well on the road, and maybe this team feels more comfortable on the road because it kind of gives you that natural ability to have the chip on your shoulder. You're not, you're not the hero. You're the villain. So maybe this team plays a little bit better in that fashion. Let's look at game one. 2 dominant lefties, one for Tennessee, one for LSU. You could argue the 2 best in the conference. That's going to be just a knockdown, drag-out, classic Friday game. And then after that, LSU, kind of similar. Their Saturday guys, a transfer in Ianson, who has really good stuff, similar to Phillips, but it's kind of been up and down. And their offense, on paper, looks a lot like Tennessee's, but they've kind of went through the rut a little bit. Very similar in that if you zoom out, we're 33-7. 12-6 in conference. I think if we asked any of us 3 in February, would you take that? We would say absolutely. But it doesn't feel as good because of how it's transpired the last few weeks, right? So I think if you're Tennessee going down to LSU, you got to zoom out. And then if you're LSU, you're kind of looking at Tennessee going, hey, they're similar to us, maybe not playing their best, but they're really, really good. So I think it's a huge series for both teams in top 3 place to play in the country.
Well, isn't it kind of funny, too? We're sitting here talking about what's wrong with both of these teams. They're both kind of scuffling, going through it. And then you look, like you said on paper, one's ranked number 6 in the country, one's ranked number 7th in the country. And I think they're two of the favorites to win the College World Series. So it just kind of shows you where the program is and how good of a job Tony and Frank and those guys have done and how much talent they have. But yeah, and then opening the door to one of my favorite places that I've ever played in the SEC, Alex Box Stadium. Those guys that are going to be in the bullpen this weekend are going to have a fun time with the fans. They are breathing down your neck, even after some stadium renovations that they did. If you throw on that right bullpen mound, you better throw strikes. If it's over the catcher's head, if you leak a little bit right, you're going to be right in their face, and they're going to let you know about it. So that's fun, number 1. Number 2, they're going to get after you on Friday night. You know that. And I'm sure Liam Doyle's going to feed off that energy. He always seems to. But if you're not on your game,
the LSU fans will definitely let you know about it, and they'll try to eat you alive. So that'll be a fun thing to see, especially with a team who likes to be the bad guy, as you said.
Yeah, it's a big park. I mean, it holds, 5 figures worth of fans. They'll probably be anywhere from 10 to 12 on any given day. And I think it's interesting so LSU's baseball royalty, right? They're blue blood.
Top 2 or 3 program of all time.
Yeah, and Jay Johnson comes in there, and he's been elite. He's been phenomenal. And now Tennessee is kind of the new kid on the block. There's been a lot more, I would say more than ever, been recruiting battles between these two schools. The fan bases are interesting in that they kind of get along because they see each other in one another. But when Tennessee and LSU play each other, it kind of seems like it could get spicy in any sport just because they have kind of that rowdy fan base. And like Andrew mentioned on Friday, they're going to have their encouragement, and they're going to be ready to go. So it's, I don't know. What is it about going to the Bayou that just kind of makes it what it is, outside of obviously the success they've had?
Yeah, I think it's the tradition, first and foremost. Their fan base is incredible. They know baseball really well. It's like we said, it's a historic program, so their fan base has been really engaged for a long time there. They love, live, breathe baseball there, and they just appreciate the sport. But they're on top of you, and they are wild, and it's the little Cajun in them. When we played there, I guess it was our sophomore year. We're pulling up on the team bus 3 hours before the Friday night game. They're out there tailgating for it. They've got their smoker. They're cracking open some beers. One of our teammates' dads was out there with them, so it tells you just kind of how their fans are. They're very welcoming, very engaging, and then once the game starts, then it's a little more fierce. But the fan base is awesome. They're going to be on you, and it's going to be a rowdy place, especially with the rivalry that's kind of developed over the last couple of years that you mentioned. And Johnson's, he's pretty fiery too, just like Tony is. The programs are kind of a mirror image of each other right now.
Yeah, it's I like him a lot. I got a lot of respect for Jay Johnson, but it'll certainly be an interesting series. Jared Jones, Daniel Dickinson, kind of the two thumpers in their order, names to watch. But that's going to be it for today. We appreciate everybody listening. Please be sure to like and subscribe, show your support, and we'll be back with you next week.